Right. Good evening, members, officers, and welcome to December's Parish Council meeting. And welcome to members of the public that are watching this through the internet. Before we start the meeting, can we all have a moment's silence to collect our thoughts and consider the situations that we're all in? Thank you. Okay, that'll do. Right, members, I'm now going to call out the roll. If you'd answer present, to everybody know that you're here. Councillor Mark Clark.
Present, Mr. Chairman.
You're muted. Councillor Rebecca Clark.
Present, Chairman.
Councillor Sean Cullen.
Present, Chairman.
Councillor Sandra
Present,
Delamere.
Chairman.
Councillor Philip Dowd. Councillor Matthew Kitchen,
Present,
sorry.
Chairman.
Freudian slip. Thank you. Councillor Simon Lodge.
Present, Chairman.
Councillor Stephanie Osborne.
Present, Chairman.
Councillor Melody Roberts.
Chairman.
Councillor Alex Wade. And myself, Malcolm Wade, the chairman. And by that, I know that we have no apology.
You missed me. I'm here.
Oh, Councillor, did I? Sorry, you're quite right. I apologise for that. Councillor Alan Fairhead, present. Well, that was the trick for this meeting.
Making
Okay.
sure they're awake.
Sorry. Yeah, well done. Right. Item 1 is apologies. Well, we haven't got any. I will go straight to declarations of interest and dispensations. To note any declaration of interest by members. Now, we'll be discussing the budget, and all of us have an interest because we're all precept payers in the council tax. Councils do when discuss this declaration of interest on that matter. Is that right, Tracy?
Dispensation on the Hythe garage, because Hythe garage is right next to the Hythe shed at the pier, and we have a joint landlord. So I took no part in any discussion on that planning application.
Thank you very much for declaring that interest. Item B is to receive any written requests for dispensations. We haven't got any, have we?
Chairman, I have a dispensation as well. I've put an RTS in.
Sorry, I didn't see that. So the dog is barking. Sorry. What happens when you have meetings from home? Yes, Alex, carry on.
Okay, so planning application 20-11210 is a New Forest District Council planning application. However, councillors myself and councillors Dowd and Osborne, who are on the planning committee here, are not on the planning committee at the district. Therefore, it was not deemed to have pecuniary interest. Furthermore, I did not comment on planning application 20-11082 as the site is within a group of cottages, which is one owned by a former councillor. As the only councillor in the previous term, this only appears to reflect my interests. So I did not comment on one of those planning applications.
Does that mean to say that Councillor Rebecca Clark and myself, as being on the planning committee, do have to declare an interest for when you discuss that item?
No, not necessarily, because Rebecca Clark is not on the planning committee, and you have a full-on declaration of interest. As noted in the
okay, that's good. It's very important we get that right.
There is also a reference to two non-members of planning living near the site, but it wasn't deemed a pecuniary interest as it's not hardly visible from their side. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you all happy with that, officers? That was good. Excellent. Okay, well, we haven't received any written dispensations, and we haven't had a verbal dispensation. We've had a verbal declaration, 2 verbal declarations of interest. Okay, well, we now move to item 3, which is the community safety update, and we'll welcome Acting Chief Inspector Helen Andrews, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Evening all. First off, we'll start with COVID. As you're aware of the sort of latest restrictions, we are very much out and about in designated COVID cars going to any cause of breaches of the regulations, in particular house parties, gatherings, breaches by licensed premises. You may have heard on the news yesterday, local news, that the Elephant and Castle was fined £1,000 over the weekend for breaching regulations by having people up at the bar drinking without food and playing pool. So our licensing teams will get into the licensed premises and make sure they are abiding by the rules. There's a large house party Marchwood, went over there and dispersed that, and there will be fines. So we are very much out and about patrolling COVID and ensuring as much as possible the residents are abiding by the rules. We're also working with the COVID ambassadors who have already started from New Forest District Council. They're out, I think we've got 3 or 4 of them out most days, patrolling areas of reports that we're getting. So they're not there to enforce, they're more there to advise and give advice when necessary. They've been up near schools and just generally out in Hythe, and they go out to places where they have market days. So that's been very successful. But as a whole, the New Forest, we're in quite a good area of engaging with the residents and ensuring that, you know, they are listening to the rules and regulations. And generally, I'd say the residents of our communities are law-abiding citizens. You know, we always get 1 or 2, but generally we're in a good place. So let's hope it lasts over Christmas before we go into the next lockdown, which I think we can all foresee will happen, I think, with Christmas, and that's not going to change. I've just heard Boris on the news sort of saying it's going to be what it's going to be. He's advising people if they don't have to meet not to, but he's keeping to what he said originally, sort of 3 households can meet up over Christmas. So we will continue with our COVID patrol. So like I said, we're in a fairly good place with that. This time of year, it's getting the message out to everyone that we do need to be vigilant. It is a known time of year that burglaries, especially dwellings, do go up, because generally we do have more things in our house, more nicer things. We've been out Christmas shopping, etc. So if you can pass a message out for yourselves and to everyone else that please, you know, lock your back doors, lock your sheds, lock your garages. We had a dwelling burglary yesterday in Oakland's Way in Dibden Parish, where the back door was forced, untidy search of the house, and a lot of jewellery and things like that were taken. And this is a daytime burglary. I know a lot more of us are working from home, so hopefully that will deter our criminals. But you know, where the nights are longer and it's darker earlier, it is a time where burglars will be out and about and just looking for where they can pounce. So if we can get that message out, just be vigilant. If you see anything suspicious, you know, do report it to the police. So that's just one to watch out. Just make sure everything is locked up as best as can be. Day before yesterday, myself, Councillor Osborne and Wade, NFDC and the vicar from St Andrew's Church, we had a meeting about the antisocial behaviour in Oak Road and the car park up there. So it's about joint working, and I came away feeling quite positive about the meeting. We're sending out letters to residents to make them aware that, you know, we are working together on this with the church. We're encouraging people that they must report this, any instance like this, on 101 or online. And I know in the past, and even now sometimes it takes a while to get through, but please encourage the residents, they must report. If it's not an emergency, then we really need it reported 101 or online. It doesn't say that police will attend, but as long as it's reported and we can build a picture, and also we may visit later on. So we're getting the word out there. So we'll continue this joint working, and we'll continue patrolling that area as and when, but it will be a proportionate response to that. But generally, overall, the crime in your location is low and it is a safe place to live. There's been no series of anything of note. We'll always get crime, but there's nothing that I think, oh, we've got an issue here, we've got a problem there. At the moment, the criminals are keeping to the west side of the forest, so that's sort of good news for you guys, not so much for the west. So unless is there any questions from anyone?
I've got an RTS from Philip Dowd. Thank you for the report, by the way, and it's reassuring to hear what you had to say. Philip, you got a question?
Yes, I have. Good evening. I'm pleased to hear that there's some connection between the COVID marshals and yourselves. Can I also check that there is also a communication between the COVID marshals, yourself, and the ACSOs once they're up and running? Is that something that will be happening?
Oh yes, definitely. We will very much link in with the ACSOs and also with the ambassadors. Already the ACSOs have met the neighbourhood teams at Hardley, and we've had some links in with the training. So it will be very much a two-way system with us and them. So it will hopefully, and I expect it will be, a very good joint working situation we'll be in.
Thank you very much.
I've got a question, Helen. Do you have, well, I know you have information on crime prevention, but there used to be a crime prevention officer who used to be able to provide pamphlets, data, and that we could pass on to the public. The ACSOs could pass on to the public. Is that something that we could look at in the new year?
Yes, certainly. I can see what we can get. I mean, a lot of the time we put stuff on our Facebook posts,
Yeah.
but I know not everyone does social media and all that. But I can look at getting some leaflets that we can give to the ACSOs.
That would be a good thing to do. Well, any more questions for Helen? Oh, Alex, you've got an RTS.
Hello, good evening, Helen. Thank you ever so much for coming to speak to us today. Quick question. I noticed that Waterside Cops on Twitter has closed its page down. I found that very useful. Can I ask why?
Well, basically, we've closed all our Twitter pages because generally they were barely being used. So we found our Facebook page is much more usable, and that's where generally the public were going, and we were putting more and more stuff on Facebook. So we needed to reduce some of our social media, and it was decided Twitter was the best one to do. So hopefully you will follow us on Facebook.
Okay. Any more questions for Helen? Well then, Helen, I would like to wish you, your officers and your families a very Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy, safe New Year. Thank you for all you do for us.
And also I'd like to send that back to all of you, and thank you for the support over the last nearly year. I really appreciate it. So, any feedback, then please send it my way. But yeah, I hope you will have a good Christmas and speak to you in the new year.
Have a good Christmas. Thank you. Right, members.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We will now go on to the minutes, item 4. And I'm just turning the pages out. I will do it one page at a time. Are you all ready? Eyes down, as we say. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Are you all happy that that is a true record of the meeting? Can I have a proposer and a seconder, and we all agree?
I propose that they're accepted, Chairman.
Seconder?
I'm happy to second, Chairman.
Right. Are we all happy with that? Excellent. Good. Now, we now move to Chairman's announcements, and I've only got a couple. The first one is about the competition we call it Christmas lights competition. Tomorrow on Friday is the judging of the Christmas lights competition. There are 20 entries so far, and the list will be updated by 4 p.m. tomorrow. So please check your emails, members, before you go out. Councillors will choose a winner in their ward, and next week a group of councillors will visit 7 of the 7 winning houses and pick an overall winner. The prize for the ward winner is a £50 voucher to spend with a local business, and the winner of each ward is the winner of each ward, and an additional £100 voucher for spending local business for the overall winner. So we're supporting local businesses, bringing Christmas to people's homes, and doing something for everybody. Okay, and the next item I'm going to read is the Christmas message. And this is to the residents. Dear residents, this is certainly not the Christmas we would have expected nor would have planned for. But in these challenging times we are in, we just have to take the sensible approach to get by safely until the vaccine brings us back to a more normal way of life. We're all in this together, so please follow the rules, take the sensible precautions, and I hope you and your families stay well and safe over and beyond the festive period. On behalf of the parish councillors and the parish council staff, I wish all the residents of Hythe, Dibden Parish, Butts Ash a Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy New Year. Right, members, and we now go to item 5, which is me again, which is the reports by county and district members. Do we have a report from Councillor McAvoy? Officers?
No, we don't.
Okay. Right, well, I will just zap into mine then. The sort of report that will bring you all down to earth, I'm afraid. All right, it's a busy time helping people out in these challenging times, but that is the environment we're all in. However, on the 3rd of December, I attended the Hampshire County Council meeting where we had a financial update and budget setting item. Now, I'm about to read to you is a straight cut and paste from the council report. The significant financial impact locally, nationally and globally of the COVID-19 pandemic, not the least due to the level of spend that has already been necessary to respond to the crisis and support the economy, but also as a result of the long-term impact on the economy and public finances, it's a long sentence, going forward, further government funding of 52.4 million was required to ensure the council was financially sustainable in the medium term. The County Council welcomes the further financial support that has been provided by the government, but it's obvious that the latest distribution methodology is designed to address political pressure points rather than being based on any assessment of real need. And even following the allocation of funding, we still face a gap of 39.7 million in the current year. Overall, taking the various factors into account, the last medium-term snapshot position has now been extended to 2023-2024. And despite an improving current year position and additional government grant, the County Council still faces an unfunded gap of 210.7 million over that period. However, even if the COVID-19 had not happened, in order to ensure that it still had sufficient firepower in its reserves to address the business as usual deficits of at least a £40 million annual predicted deficit after the current transformation to 2021 cut savings programme has been implemented. So, now my words, we have a current 40 million annual funding gap due to the government's austerity cuts, plus the extra COVID-related losses, which the government promised they would fund. We, which is the party that I represent, put in an amendment condemning the government for not providing the necessary promised funding, which they did at the beginning of this pandemic, and requiring them to do so, and for the council to lobby hard to get the funding. The Conservative administration refused to support this and voted against it, every one of them. On a different tack, I attended a Children's Services Looked After Children Area Managers meeting and listened to the very many issues we're dealing with, working hard for the vulnerable young people of our county in an environment with COVID issues and increasing demand. And you know, they're doing a fantastic job, Children's Services and Hampshire County Council. They are truly an excellent organisation doing its very best in an increasing demand environment and reduced funding challenges. So that is my not quite upbeat report, I'm afraid, but that is what it is. Now, we'll now go to report members from the District Council. I'm going to go across my screen. It may look at ad lib order, but that's the way it is. Councillor Rebecca Clark, you first, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I've nothing to report this month. Thank you.
Okay. The next one is Councillor Sandra Delamere.
I've nothing to report, Chairman.
Okay. Councillor Stephanie Osborne.
I've got a few things. So obviously the Climate Emergency Committee has been well established now in our second or third meeting. We've got some great ideas that are being put forward and they're going to be reported back in March with the progress everybody's made. Hythe Hospital, you can all see the fences are up and work has started. So the stakeholders there are all very happy and still working hard to make things put in place right. I'd like to promote the Dibden Parish open evening. I've been working with some of the traders in the village. It's open from 6 tomorrow night. And Oak Road Car Park, the numerous meetings that myself and Councillor Roberts and Wade have attended, I think have resulted in, at the moment, signs will go up, the ACSOs, I saw them visiting yesterday, and a letter to residents. So that's about it at the moment.
Thank you very much. Councillor Alex Wade.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Just go over a few things. I'll try and be brief. Over Christmas and New Year holiday period, there are slight changes to the refuse and garden collections to account for the bank holidays. And there'll be no garden waste collection from the 21st of December to the 3rd of January. And those with rubbish and recycling collection date of Fridays, which will be Christmas Day and New Year's Day this year round, will have their refuse collected on the 2nd of July with a 2-week gap without collection. Also, from the 2nd to the 17th of January in New Road Car Park, there will be a Christmas tree drop-off point. All residents should be receiving information about any changes and guidance, including a reminder that wrapping paper, in most cases, must be placed in black bags and is unfortunately not recyclable. There is still time to comment on the waste strategy, which NFDC are consulting on. It has been extended for a second time till Sunday, the 20th of December. Over 3,000 people have commented, which still represents quite a small % of our population here in the district. The council claims this is good for a local authority consultation, but it's not really a good barometer for such an important issue that affects us all in the New Forest. I've asked the portfolio holder about the length of time and the methods of consulting on the waste proposals, and she's responded that she was happy with the methods of accessing and filling in the survey. This is not, however, reflected in the views I have seen, and it has been extended twice despite this. It shows that the original timescale during a period when it's not simple to visit an information office, let alone ours was closed till recently, or indeed access the information on arranging a copy to be sent. Overall, the proposals are receiving mixed feedback, with some Conservative councillors really not happy with the proposed options. And at our last full council meeting for NFDC, indeed, the opposition group were highlighting the need to focus on improving the dismal recycling record the ruling group presided over. One concern I have is, despite what is proposed, is a key obstacle will be that recycling by Veola, the county contractor, remains a worry, as my understanding is that even yoghurt pots remain an item unsuitable. So how can we truly achieve the improvements we want? I've been working alongside the county councillor on investigating ownership and dealing with some issues around the drains and the car park in Ferry Road due to an ongoing and serious flooding issue. I thank the county council, by the way, for his support and proactive work on this issue. Thank you. Leisure centres. I asked the portfolio holder at New Forest District Council meeting his comments on the focus group leaving the leisure centre consultation process. As the plans to privatise the management in the centres, he told me that some of the public still wish to be involved, which is good, and that there will be public meetings in the new year. He also did not answer my question on whether we can see detailed audits and due diligence on any company that bids for centres to ensure the security of our valued centres. Again, the priority from his answer to me was that the council don't want to be spending the money on our leisure services, which are valued by so many, and seem keen to ensure the outsourcing of them. Business support, as I'm sure all councillors are aware, New Forest District Council still have funding available to support local businesses and those impacted by COVID restrictions. The New Forest District Council website has lots of details from local restriction support grants, additional restrictions, so discretionary grants, business rates, holiday information and more. All the information is on the NFDC website, a lot more detailed there. And very lastly, I just would like to wish everyone, all the residents in Hythe and Dibden, the parish, the staff here, New Forest District Council staff and councillors, a very happy Christmas and New Year. It's been a really difficult year for so many, and the actions of our community throughout make me very proud to live here. Sorry for waffling on. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Councillor Philip Dowd.
I'll just need to change screen, so bear with me. I attended the Waste Strategy Working Group meeting on the 4th of December. The meeting included initial feedback on responses from the questionnaire. Reported issues with people attempting to send separate responses from the same address were resolved. It was agreed to extend the completion period given the criticisms, and only 3 town or parish councils had responded by the deadline. I'll stop there, thank you.
Anything else, Philip?
That's me done, thank you.
Okay. And now Councillor Mark Clark.
Only just to expand slightly on something that Councillor Wade touched on, which was the leisure centre tender process. The first part of that meeting has now taken place, where all 3 bidders were heard and did their presentations. We now take that forward to the next stage, which is the discussions, and we look again at those tenders against the baseline of our present situation, which has been of course skewed by COVID, and make a decision whether to look forward to either a limited company or a trust basis, or pick up one of the bidders. That's as far as we've got, and I think as far as we need to say at the moment. But it's an ongoing process, but that still does cause us significant worries at the moment about you know, what the future holds for our leisure centres and their services to our local residents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And now my short NFDC report. NFDC has correctly extended their consultation, as Councillor Alex always said, to the new waste strategy. And I attended the Task and Finish group meeting on this topic on the 4th of December, along with Councillor Dowd. And I was very pleased that finally New Forest District Council have raised waste minimisation as a topic of the group and the strategy after my continually getting on at them about it. Whilst they seem to have listened to what was an obvious route, they are at the beginning in this, they should have looked at this at the beginning instead of somewhere along the journey, as their ideas on waste collection. They didn't deal with it quick enough. If we'd looked at waste minimisation beginning, we wouldn't need such necessary radical solutions to get rid of the waste, because we wouldn't have it in the first place. I attended the planning committee on the 9th of December, but there was no applications affecting this parish. I'll be going to the Green Housing Task and Finish group on Friday, the 18th, and I'll respond back on that to a future meeting. On a good point, NFDC have given the parish council 11,000 as part of 107,000 monies that they were to share amongst all the parishes in the district to offset any COVID expenditure. Not enough to cover our costs, but every little helps, as the advert said. The amount distributed among the 10 parishes was based upon the number of Band D properties in each parish. So the bigger population ones didn't always get the greater share if their Band D properties were less than other areas. And that is the end of that. Do we have any reports from members on serving on the outside bodies?
Yes, Chairman.
Over to you, Philip.
We had the second meeting of the Voluntary Youth Forum, which took place on the 10th of December. The group's at an early stage of development, and further links are being sought to ensure that it has a broad representation. I encouraged all groups to make contact with applications for community grants to ensure that our youngest residents were catered for in this difficult time. I will come back to this topic in a future meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm very pleased that you're working to get that group back in action, because it used to exist in the past and did quite a bit of good work getting groups together. So well done for that. Now we go on to item 8, which is the public forum. I don't think we've had any questions, have we, Tracy? No.
No.
Okay, all right. Well, we will move to item 9 then. Questions for councillors under standing order, something or other. Right. I've got RTS from Rebecca Clark.
Thank you very much, Chairman. In fact, my question is to you. Many of us were quite saddened to see the recent demolishing of the Waterside Sports and Social Club. It was a particularly unique venue. It was a community hub, but not least, it provided a base for arts and culture, particularly performing arts, in the Waterside, but actually it was one of the largest spaces across the whole of the New Forest. So the Waterside is definitely the poorer, I feel, for losing it. In that vein, I know also that it's held very many memories for people along the Waterside over many years as well. On the horizon for this parish council is the refurbishment of our parish hall. And I know that whenever we do refurbish anything in the parish, we always seek to consult in the parish with stakeholders to make sure that anything that we invest money in, suitably provides for the interests and the needs of our community. I would like to ask the council, please, to consider trying to replace some of what has been lost in the demolishing of the Waterside Theatre. Can we have a look and liaise with some groups that used to use it for performance, some arts and culture groups in the community, to see what they would need in order for us to enhance what we can provide in the parish hall currently. I just think, this decision has been taken, it's gone, we need to move forward, but we have a very good resource in the parish hall, and it would just be wonderful if we could try and replace some of that, and maybe we can have a new Waterside Theatre here in Hythe Dibden. Thank you.
Well, that's a very good question. I think that's a very excellent idea, because arts and culture are very important in people's lives, and we should be supporting it. Tracy, Sean, is this something we can look at, the concept of this in a future parish hall? What's the best way to take this forward? Because I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So we'll when we're ready to progress the parish hall, whenever that may be, we can certainly take those views on board.
Do we need to agree the concept of this in another council meeting, rather than leave the detail to when you do that? So it's not lost, because things can get lost over time, and I think it's important. And I know a lot of members share Rebecca's view. This is something we can agree the principle, but deal the detail in as and when is required.
That concept can certainly appear in any strategy that we take forward.
Okay, we don't need to set that as an agenda item for a future meeting then.
I thought so. If Claire notes it now, then it'll be probably make part of the terms of reference for the new working group that I assume will be set up to discuss the renovation.
Excellent. Everybody happy with that? Good. Alex, I've got an RTS from you. Was that one I've already dealt? Was that a recent one? Sorry.
It was a question to Councillor Dowd.
Okay, go away. You're next, and then Mark.
Councillor Dowd, thank you very much for your report on the waste strategy meeting. A very quick question. Which 3 parishes had actually responded by the time of the deadline? And I presume ours was included.
We weren't actually given details of the 3. I mean, we know ours did, but the other 2 we have no information on, I'm afraid.
I'm surprised the numbers were so low due to such an important issue, that was all.
I think it just didn't fit with their pattern of meetings because the consultation period was so brief.
Indeed, fair point. Thank you.
Councillor Mark Clark.
Well, there's 2 questions, Mr. Chairman. One is just a state of play that perhaps you could give us about Valley Dean, that we're understanding, where we are actually with it, and then I'll come to the second question. But first of all, it's about Valley Dean, where we are.
Okay, right. Well, so the situation with Valley Dean, as I understand it, and please, Tracy and Sean, jump in if it's any different to that, is that Hampshire County Council has been pursuing Southern Water to get their confirmation that they are A, responsible for all the pipe, or B, they are not responsible for the pipe. We we are saying a collective we as the parish council and the county council cannot pursue any works in that area if they are responsible for it, because they would have to pay for it. But by the same token, we are waiting for their response. Until Southern Water come back to us, we are unable to take this forward. We're in a situation. If you remember, we were all ready to go pre-COVID with a solution and meet the residents to do it. But a residents representative brought up the spectre that it's Southern Water, and we had to check that out, and we are waiting for a response. Is that a reasonable answer, Tracy, Sean? Does anyone else to really answer that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think that's where we are.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
Next
It was
question.
it was just really related, both, weather events at the moment. It must be dreadful for neighbours in that area with all the current waterlogged ground at the time being, and it would be good to encourage Southern Water to get an answer back to us. And the second one is similarly affected. I noticed that water is pooling along the main Fawley Road, particularly related to the Forest Farm development, Forest Lodge Farm development, which is still remains absent of any people that actually living there, and the absence of any representative of the development Vivid to talk to Mr. Penny behind. And I know that you've been involved from a highways point of view, Malcolm, and I just wonder whether you can give us an update at all.
Well, I put in a complaint to the district council over how that planning application turned out. Because there is a serious issue with flooding in Forest Lodge Farm. That water doesn't run uphill, so it's coming downhill from Vivid. And we're waiting for the district council to come back. Mr. Penny, I know, has done the same. We can both complained to Bob Jackson, the chief executive, and we are waiting for his response. As regards the flooding in Fawley Road, that's not. We have a problem with flooding all over our community, and in fact we have a problem all over Hampshire. Climate change is delivering a significant change to rainfall in the United Kingdom. The volume of rain in the year isn't necessarily greater, but it's coming in greater amounts over a shorter period, and the drains can't deal with it. I think Alex mentioned earlier about Ferry Road. I saw the video where it was literally surrounded with water, and water was coming out of the ground. So I went down to see them, and the poor shopkeepers, these poor people were mopping out mud-strewn floors. It was really sad. So I've been trying to get to the bottom of which bits belong to highway, which bits belong to the landlord. So we have problems. Like we got it in South Street. I mean, I could spend hours and hours going on about flooding, but the thing about that Fawley Road, it is down to a lot of water in a short period of time. It floods and it goes away again. The only way you'd ever cure that is put a new drain in, I suspect. And they're not going to do that. If you wish me to forward it, drop me an email and I will ask Highways to go and blow it out again. That's so I don't forget. I said drop me an email. I'll ask Highways to go and blow it out again. But really, it is a bit of a challenge, flooding at the moment. Something we've got to work on. Okay.
Thank you,
Does that answer that question?
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Now it's Councillor Philip Dowd, then Matthew Kitchen.
Before I ask my question, can I just outline the fact that where the flooding occurs on Butts Ash Fawley Road, it does seem to the water does seem to gather in a different place since the development from before. As a regular user of that road, it's definitely created a different pattern there.
I'm making a note of that.
Can I, in response to Councillor Rebecca Clark's excellent point about the theatre, also point out that there are significant issues in Southampton with the theatres as well. And I think it might be an idea, should we look into how practical it is to provide an alternative venue, actually contact the Southern Arts Bridge, which is part of the Arts Council, because I think there is a worsening situation for the arts anyway. But there's already pre-COVID been an issue with arts in the waterside and Southampton in general. So I think that whole area really does need exploring, and it would be a good thing, I think, to get the Arts Council involved in some way, possibly through the Arts Bridge.
Okay, that's great. Councillor Matthew Kitcher, you're next.
Malcolm, please get past me. I completely forgot what my question was.
Okay, right. Well, Councillor
Okay.
Alex Wade. Oh, sorry. Have you back, Matthew?
No, please carry on. No.
Councillor Alex Wade, you've got a comment there.
Is the chairman aware
Yeah.
that, and this goes on to the points made by Councillors Dowd and Councillor Rebecca Clark's excellent point, that actually Southampton is bidding to be the city of culture, I believe in 2024, or it could be 2025, and it's an opportunity for people on this side of the water to work with Southampton as much as possible on making sure that the benefits of such a bid, which usually bring in funding to support cultural projects and support the wider economy over into the New Forest, and particularly our community here in the waterside, as it is a massive loss. The theatre, and this the district councillors should be having a meeting, a presentation on the City of Culture bid very soon. It was supposed to be this month, but it got cancelled due to technological reasons, funny enough. So hopefully early next year we'll be able to have a presentation and bring this and discuss further as council. But working with the City of Culture bid and our friends in Southampton, I think is a good move.
Yes, and we could perhaps develop Hythe and Dibden as the village of culture going forward. I think that's an excellent idea, and I totally believe we should support the arts and culture where we can. So we will take this seriously forward when we look at the strategy for refurbishing the parish hall. Well, I've got a couple of comments from Mark and Matt about people coming over by train and ferry from Southampton. So when we get the train involved, that is, so that's all a good point. Any more questions, members, before I move on to the next item? No, right. The next item, number 10, to receive the delegate decisions of the planning committee. Over to you, Councillor Alex Wade.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Chairman. Hello, committee. Thank you very much, officers and councillors, for the information that and the decisions that we helped come together on what was not a big agenda, but the applications that were on this agenda were significant. Included on the agenda for this month was the most distinctive house in our parish, Sir Christopher Cockrell's old house. So some detailed applications. So my apologies for the somewhat lengthy responses I collated and sent to officers on our behalf. We will go from page 3, and if you have any comments or challenges to what I have written, then please advise. Do note that there are a couple of declarations of interest, but we raised them at the beginning of this meeting, so they are noted here as well. So I'm going to go page by page, and please call out if you have any challenges. This is on your supplementary papers. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Do we all agree that these are a fair reflection of the planning discussions and the decisions made by the planning committee?
Happy to agree, Chair.
You agreed? Thank you. Then I so propose.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I so proposes. Thank you very much, and thank you.
Okay, we now go to item 11, to receive the notes of the Communications Working Group meeting held on the 25th of November 2020. Mark, do you want to present those, please? You're muted.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't have the paperwork immediately to hand, but they're presented as a whole for the meeting with the various decisions made. But it was a very short meeting.
Okay, is everybody happy about those minutes? Sorry, meeting notes?
Happy to agree them, Chairman.
Good, thank you very much. Okay, we now move to item 12, the awards working group. Receive the notes of the awards working group meeting on the 20th of November. That is you again, Alex, isn't it?
My apologies again, committee. Yes, we had our first meeting for the awards group for quite some time, and I've got to be honest, I'm incredibly grateful to Helen and indeed my colleagues on the committee, my fellow councillors, for a really, really good meeting, and we came up with some really good suggestions moving forward for what I think is a really important issue. So you'll see that the minutes are pages 17 and 18, where we agreed a date of the next Community Spirit Awards, the number of awards, and the process of doing so. So if you have a look at pages 17 and 18, and if you've got any comments or challenges, please advise. Is
everybody happy with those?
Are we happy that they're a true reflection?
Can somebody answer that, please?
Yeah, happy to agree that they're a true record.
Thank you very much, Rebecca.
Thank you.
We propose them and present them to the council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. We now move on to item 13, Haynes-Way fencing. Sean, are you going to lead us on lead on this one, please? You're muted.
Some would sound better like that.
No, not at all.
At a previous council meeting, members, you agreed to bring this back for discussion. So I've got a couple of notes. I'm just going to read them to you, then I'll throw it open to members. Okay. As you know, we previously agreed to install a fence around the perimeter at Haynes-Way open space in an effort to deter reported ASB. In order to install the fence, a planning application has been submitted to NFDC. As of today, that application has still not been decided. The consultation phase of the planning application has thrown up that there are some differing views among residents at Haynes-Way. Some obviously are for it because they've suffered with the ASB. Others have raised objections. The main reasons for the objections are it's not needed, the type of fence is not suitable, and of course the cost. Some residents have commented that we should address the root problem, which is the ASB, rather than put a fence in. Okay. In view of those comments that I've noticed, I'm sure members are aware of, we've been progressing a couple of other ways forward to deter the ASB while we're waiting on a decision on the fence and whether we do want to install the fence. Okay, so just confirm the newly appointed AXOs are regularly patrolling both Haynes-Way and the Nodes-Way open space. I'm pleased to say that engagement between the officers and residents of Nodes-Way and Haynes-Way has begun and will continue. The AXO officers, when they're on duty, are visiting Haynes-Way and Nodes-Way regularly. I'm saying 2 or 3 times a day at varying times. So that's reassuring, I'm sure. This patrol pattern will continue for the foreseeable future. Another way forward we're looking at and we're progressing is the council, in partnership with the Handy Trust and Nodeswood School, are working together to provide a youth shelter in the grounds of Nodeswood School. The Handy Trust has engaged a number of the young people that have previously been identified as using both Nodes-Way and Haynes-Way, and they have confirmed to the Handy Trust that if a shelter is provided, they would use it. To fund this project, the Council's Open Spaces Group met last week and agreed to make a recommendation to this council to gather just over £11,000 worth of Section 106 money, which is being held on our behalf by New Forest District Council. Just today, I've had confirmation from New Forest District Council that if we put in a suitable formal request with appropriate wording, we're likely to get that funding. So that's positive. So in view of all the work that's going on, members, and the indecision regarding the fence, can I throw it back to members to have a discussion about, shall we just pursue the continued work of the AXOs, because that's working, I think. The PCSOs have also promised to visit the site, and progress with the youth shelter. leave that for a period of 6 months. That will take us into lighter evenings, which will enable us to review how effective they've been. And then I would suggest that we'd carry out a review as part of the council, and then members can finally say, yes, we're going to put the fence in, or no, we're not. Open to you, members. I just need some guidance, really.
Right, I've got a number of RTSs here. I'm just going to lead on this. We've had antisocial behaviour there not before. This is not new. And the same families and residents have been penalised by it. We have a duty to look after the residents whose life has been negatively affected, the quality of life which we as councillors should look to improve. We have a duty to deal with this. We will do all we can to eliminate antisocial behaviour in that area affecting the residents in Haynes Way, because the ones that have been affected, it has been really serious. I've listened to some very poignant stories, and I am determined, as I know you are, members, that we will stop the antisocial behaviour so those residents can have the happy living existence that they wish. However, there's always more than one way to skin a cat, and I want to thank Sean for that presentation, because that was very good. Clearly, there is a difference of opinion between the members, between the residents of Haynes Way, because those are not directly affected by it. Well, the project to put a youth gathering point in Nodes Way will provide an open space, the only open space in Dibden Parish that young people can go to. The regular patrols by the ACSOs engaging, talking, establishing a rapport with the youngsters and explaining that we don't want that they don't need to be there, they could be somewhere else, I think will work. But we will continue with planning permission. We will get planning permission for the fence, and the fence will be in our back pocket. As if the other efforts that we've used do not succeed in Nodes Way, we will put the fence in. Hopefully the other things will succeed and we won't need to, and then it's a win-win. But we must eliminate the antisocial behaviour. We must work on behalf of those residents who've been affected by it. Right, I'm going to go to Philip first, then Alex, then Alan, Melody, and Mark.
I'm very happy to support the idea that Sean's put forward. I think really fencing it off, we knew that it was a serious problem, which is why we went with that view after what we were hearing. But we knew deep down that it was just going to shift the problem somewhere else. So it wasn't actually dealing with the problem itself. It was just dealing with a particular symptom of it. And I think keeping it under review for 6 months, as long as the residents who are most deeply affected are engaged with regularly during that period. I think our ACSOs will do a fantastic job mitigating some of those problems there, as well as where those problems may move to when they move from that area. So I think that is a much more positive way of dealing with it. We didn't know at the time that we would have the ACSOs up and running quite so quickly, so that is that's an advantage there. But I think that is the right course of action, as long as it's under review and as long as the residents are kept in the loop and feel supported during that period of time. Thank you.
Alex, you're next.
There isn't much really I need to add, Councillor, because Councillor Dowd and yourself, Chairman, pretty much echoed my sentiments, and I actually support the suggestion brought forward by Sean. I think it's a sensible approach. I think it answers a lot of the concerns raised, and is definitely, now the ACSOs are starting to move on to their responsibilities, the right approach for the moment, and then we can review it moving forward if we need to do anything else. I completely support what's been suggested so far, and agree with yourself and Councillor Dowd.
Okay, Alan.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I agree with what Sean has been proposing there. The question is, have the residents, particularly the ones that are most affected, been approached about this idea of a youth shelter, so that they try and get the youth there instead of annoying the people in that area? And those that don't, well, all the people there, have they been consulted about this idea?
Do you want me to take that, Malcolm?
Yes, please. Yeah.
No, they haven't, Alan, simply because I haven't had consent from the council to progress that avenue of way forward. Okay, so now if you give me that tonight, I should deploy the AXOs to make contact with those residents that have been most affected, gather their views, provide some reassurance, and assure them that they will be on regular patrol up there over the coming months.
Lovely, thank you, Sean.
That's a really good idea. That is. Melody.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I agree with everything that Sean and the others have said, especially as the Haynes Way residents have provided variable views of the style of fence, the colour of the gates, and whether they wanted it or not. Well, I think with the ACSOs, PCSOs and the Handy Trust, and those who are providing the shelter, I think that could be a very good answer. So I propose we accept that idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark and then Sean.
Well, it's comms really, I suppose, communications with local residents. I was fortunate enough to be at that summer meeting, which seems a long time ago now, with you, Mr. Chairman, when we particularly talked to residents about the fence. It seemed as sort of a done deal at the time. What I'm concerned about is that residents see our delay slightly as somewhat like backsliding, and we're moving away from that. And that this is communicated perhaps by a letter or something to all of the residents locally, that this is the course of action. So they're left in no doubt that we're just delaying it by a shorter time to see whether the ACSO approach works. But what I don't want to do is residents up in flames on Facebook saying, where was the promises that the parish council made? Secondly, in a different focus, we had some interaction with the police on a personal level recently and talked to them, and they actually were telling us that the one thing I think Steph Osborne knows as well is that the youngsters have got nowhere else to go, and really it's where we can provide somewhere else for the youngsters to go, which at least the police know where they're corralled, rather than just trying to push them somewhere else. Just the two issues. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, well, Mark, as you raised that meeting, you're quite right. We're not getting rid of the fence. The fence is still going to be part of our arsenal should we need it, but we're trying other methods that we hope all residents will support first. If it doesn't work, then we have a commitment to the residents who had all these problems to put something in to address it for them, because the fence will do that. Okay, the next one is Sean, please.
Indeed, sorry, Mr. Chairman, just to interrupt. Quite right too, but I just want to, telepathy is not a strong point in this council.
Well, no,
I just hope we're going to be communicating with the residents to make sure they understand that.
What we could do, if members had agreed, we could do a little mail shot, and the ACSOs could deliver it by hand and chat to residents at the same time. Something that the officers could put together to that effect.
Sounds good deal to me, Mr. Chairman.
Sean.
Sorry, two things. One, will it just be a shelter, or will it be a shelter with Wi-Fi access? And secondly, will we be working with the outreach team from the Handy Trust? We're not just trying to displace these kids and push them off or brush them under the carpet out the way. It would be a great opportunity for the Handy Trust and us to engage with the youth as well, not just sort of try and sideline them. Okay,
well, let me answer the second part of that first, and I'll ask Sean about the first part. Nodeswood School have young people, if I may use the term, invading their campus during the summer on a daily basis. One of the reasons we have worked this in partnership with them is we're now going to put a controlled environment for the young people to go in. One of the reasons Haynes Way was so popular, because there's no green space in Dibden Parish. Because once we shut Nodes Way play area, there is nowhere for them to go, and they used to gather there. What we're doing is because the young people are part of the community as well. What we're doing is producing a bespoke area with a shelter. There'll be lighting, there'll be some form of seating bench, you know, where they can gather safely away from residential houses, where the ones that go on to Nodeswood School campus can gather. It's a win-win all round. Everybody's supportive of it. And the young people want somewhere they can gather together safely on their own. And also, as I think Mark said, the police, the ACSOs all know where they'll be, so they can check to see they're okay. So that bit, it's delivering, it's dealing with antisocial behaviour in Payne's Way by giving the young people somewhere else to go that they didn't have before, that everybody's happy with. Is that a reasonable response to that? And I'm going to ask Sean to ask about the Wi-Fi.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Chairman. And it's nice to hear you expressing your known concern for the youth of this parish as well.
Thank you very much for that. Sean, about why we get Wi-Fi there, or get the school
I'm
to
under the impression there's Wi-Fi on the site already, but I think that the council's given us enough project funding that we could maybe contribute towards the school's fund now. So there's a way we can get around it, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you. And now Stephanie Osborne, please.
Hi everybody. Yeah, just listening to you all about Haynes Way. Obviously, I've heard from one or two of the residents that actually lived there or used to live there, and listened to what they've got to say. And I think what we've gathered is that there is maybe, I don't know if it's 50-50, but it's not a unanimous decision that they want what we said. But I think in the long term, if the ACSOs do engage with the residents and find out what they really want, sometimes people seem to change their mind. And Philip, when he's working with the young people, I'd like to suggest we have someone that actually speaks to the council like we do the police and other bodies. You know, maybe we could get someone that will actually speak out about what they would like, because, you know, in conjunction with Rebecca's idea, which, you know, we broached on last meeting, maybe a cinema, like we had at the Dibden Parish Hall, but it's for them, you know, so that there are more things for younger people in this area, because we've got gatherings in Dibden Parish in various places, outside Tesco, outside Batham Academy, in the car park, Haynes Way, you know, so there's lots and lots of gatherings, and sometimes maybe they don't all want to be together, you know, they want to have some various things to actually do. That's what worries me really, is that we are getting this right, and that we continue as the last, you know, we've said since we've been in this council, we continue in the same vein, that we actually don't do anything that changes anything for the future. Why are they going to suddenly behave themselves? You know, the ACSOs are going to drive them from one place to the other. We need to hear what they've got to say. I don't know what they want anymore. The last time I was involved with that age group was, you know, 7 years ago. So I'm sure they all want different things. Do they want to skate BMX park? Once they've got it, are they then going to be told they've got to be quiet and it'll be shut at 6 o'clock? You know, this is what I want to know. And as Mark said, we're all very aware. We've all, you know, got children and they all want to do things. And Southampton is just too far away and too expensive.
Okay, well, we will work with the Handy Trust. I think Sean mentioned that we're already doing that, engaging with the young people to see, are they, because this group, they just want to hang out, if I can use that phrase. They're not exactly ones that want to join organised activities. They just want to hang out, and they want someone to hang out, but they can do it safely without causing a lot of upset for other people. I've got Philip who wants to come in.
You actually answered the point, because one of the points that Sean asked about earlier is about the involvement of the Handy Trust. And I know that the Handy Trust is wanting to set up a kind of youth council, and that's well, you'll know about that, won't you, Malcolm? So I think there are all sorts of avenues being explored about how we engage all members of the community more widely. So I think you know, with anything like this, it always seems to take far longer than you hope, but it's moving in the right direction there, I think.
Thank you, Philip. And to take on board Stephanie's well-made point, the Handy Trust are going to engage with these youngsters to find out what they want. From the feedback so far, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, is it's positive about giving them somewhere to socialise with, you know, in Dibden Parish. I've got Alex after, but Sean, do you want to come back on that?
Yeah, there's been some suggestions for shelters provided to the Handy Trust,
yeah,
and they are consulting with the young people on which type of shelter they'd actually like.
There you go. That's brilliant. Alex, you've got an RTS. We'll sort of tie this up together then.
Yes, it's just really to bring it back to the final point and propose, if we need to make a decision, that we support the suggestions brought forward by Sean, the Deputy Clerk, that we follow consultation and engagement through the ACSOs, working with the Handy Trust and Nodewood School on a provision of a shelter on Nodewood site. Keep working on ensuring the planning permission is accepted for the fence, but take no action on that for the immediate time, and focus on the other options and discuss further in about 6 months. I think those are the core points raised. I'm happy to propose those for a decision.
I'll second that from the chair, but just to be abundantly clear, our object of this council is to eliminate the antisocial behaviour problems in Haynes Way. And we are trying a twin track approach. We will get planning permission for the fence, but we will not install it. We will see if an alternative venue for the young people to gather, it works. I think that probably will work. And the ACSOs will go and patrol the area to ensure that it is antisocial behaviour free. In addition, I believe we should produce a little mail shot that they can deliver to every resident in Haynes Way, and knock on the door as they deliver it, and just reassure the ones that live near the park itself of our commitment to dealing with the problems that they've had. Is everybody happy with that amend that second added on bit? Is everybody happy with that?
Do we need to vote for this? Do we need to vote for this, Chairman?
Well, yeah. Do we need to vote for this? Because we're not voting any money. We're just debating on the direction. Sean, Tracy, do we need to vote on this?
Well, you're just screwing the direction. You haven't. I mean, Sean, did you want a resolution out of it for?
I think it's a simple resolution, is as set out in the report. I'll continue with along those lines and bring a report back in 6 months.
Okay. Are you happy with that? Shall we have a right? Let's have a vote then.
Let's have the thumbs.
Right, a vote. Right. I'm going to call you out by name. You say for or against. Okay. Mark Clark.
For, Mr. Chairman, providing we incorporate the communications note.
Yep. Rebecca Clark.
For.
Sean Cullen.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Sandra Delamere.
For.
Philip Dowd.
For, Chairman.
Alan Fairhead. You're muted.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Matthew Kitcher.
I will vote for, Chairman.
Thank you. Simon Lodge.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Stephanie Osborne.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Melody Roberts.
For, Chairman.
Alex Wade.
For providing something positive for the younger members of the community. For.
And I am for as well. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, done. Okay, the next item is the external audit to receive the notice of conclusion of audit and section 3 of the annual governance and accountability return 2019-2020. Tracy, do you want to take us through this bit, please?
Yeah, it's just official notice from the external audit to say that you well done, you had a clear audit this year. There were no problems raised. So members just have to note that audit.
Okay, so we don't need to go, it's just really for noting.
Yes.
Any comments, members?
Yes, I would as very much like to thank the officers, particularly the finance officer and the clerk and deputy clerk, for an incredible bit of work. Audits by nature are complicated, along with all your day-to-day stuff, and to have another clear audit is extremely well done. Thank you to the officers, and I think it's a huge huge thanks and respect to their hard work on this, and we all councillors really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Right, now item 15, and there will be a vote on this, and it's got to be a named vote, I believe, this budget. Right, budget. Tracy, over to you. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So members remember that we did have a working party on the budget, so we went through it more or less line by line. There were a couple of additions to it. We put in an added amount for climate change that we were asked to put in, for climate emergency that we were asked to put in, and there was some movement. There was some movement in the reserves over the ACSO's vehicle. But we're pleased to say that by moving some of the reserves money, we can still go forward at a 0% precept increase if members agree that. Muted. You're muted.
Yeah, have you got any questions about the budget, members? Hang on. I think, yeah, Alan Fairhead is first, then Mark.
Yeah, Chairman, you recall that I've always tried to safeguard ratepayers' monies collected for our ACSO scheme, which we as a council ring-fenced. Can you assure me that the money is still ring-fenced and we're not suffering any way from our budget calculations?
I can assure you that the funding for the ACSOs is continued to be ring-fenced. We made that decision when we were first elected, and that is a decision this council has cast iron, and that money is only used for ACSO expenditure.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Now, Councillor Mark Clark.
Two things, Mr. Chairman. One is to try and provide as much assistance to our residents as we possibly are able to do in this dreadful time, with unemployment rising, businesses expected that you know, may struggle to survive in the new year. So anything we can do from this council will surely help. My concern lies about one or two of the long-term projects, really, and whether we're able still to maintain our interest in them, particularly the raising of areas such as Prospect Place. But that's a long-term issue. And I just wonder where we are on the timeline of work to do that, and when any kind of work will take place that will cost this council money.
Well, this council inherited from the last council some significant challenges, but through prudent financial management, we are able to deliver a zero rise budget this year and still have money in the budget to cover some of the serious challenges that we will have in the future. We have planned it very astutely, and I thank the officers and you too, members, for your help, because it's been quite complex. And in this challenging time, it's right that we do something for the public by not raising council tax. Sean, do you want to add any point about Mark's point about future spending on the flood areas like Prospect Place?
Good news on that one, Mark. Oh, good news on that one, Mark. Open Spaces Group, at the last meeting, we have 45,000 as a council. We have £45,000 of seal money saved, and the Open Spaces Group are going to recommend to the council at the next meeting that we progress with flood defence work for the remainder of Prospect Place.
Okay. Yeah,
thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's as you know, the erosion down at Shaw Road and around the Scout Hut is always a continuing concern.
Well, and I know you all do a great job at fundraising to try and defend the Scout Hut. Right, I now have Councillor Sandra Delamere.
Thank you, Chairman. The recent Open Spaces working group meeting, we were discussing rec, and is that still going to be able to go ahead? We're planning on doing it next year.
Yes, as I said previously, thanks to the astute financial management of this council, we will have the funding available to refurbish Europe Rec, as you discussed in the Open Spaces Committee. Is that okay?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Simon Lodge.
Thank you, Chairman. As we are leading on a 0% precept for the council tax this year, is it possible to push that onto New Forest District Council that they do the same?
Well, that's an interesting question to ask me. But as I sit on all three councils, I can probably answer that in that there is very little chance that they will be able to do that. The district council has been affected by COVID. It's lost a lot of income. The county council is, as I said in my report, is in dire straits. So I don't think they will be able to reflect what we are doing. But we were able to do it because our situation, parish councils haven't been affected as much by COVID as the county council and indeed the district council. So we are in a position to help people, and I think that's right that we should do it. I'm sorry I can't give you a more positive answer about the other councils, though.
Thank you.
Councillor Alex Wade.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. I welcome the decision to have a 0% precept after what has been a really, really difficult year for so many, and our residents, I'm sure, hopefully will appreciate this. To allow this to happen, to ensure there isn't any, it's not counterintuitive to the council. Can I clarify that the money used to ensure that we were able to achieve this precept alongside the sound financial management, was this taken from non-earmarked reserves, or was it from unearmarked reserves? Can I just get some clarification on that, please?
Yeah, although it says reserves, what it is, the money comes from the underspend for this year, the things that we didn't spend. Now, what happens with underspends, they get put in the general reserve, and officers jump in if I've got this wrong, that they get put in general reserves. So although the paper says the money is coming from general reserves, it's not coming from earmarked reserves. It's coming actually, not totally, the majority of it is coming from the underspend, but some of it will come from general reserves. But that our general reserves are very healthy, and in a proportion that a county is using pales in comparison to the small bit that we're using. So again, it's just astute financial management by this council. So our reserves are still strong and able to help us should we have any major unforeseen problems, which is what reserves are for. But we will be able to do this from that. Is that a good enough answer, Alex?
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, right, members, if you're all in agreement, I would like a proposer and a seconder for this budget, and then I'm going to call you out by name for and against.
So proposed, Mr. Chairman.
I will second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Right, I think financial budgets, Tracy, have to be named votes, don't they? Anyway, not the recorded vote.
Not necessarily. No, it doesn't have to be a recorded vote.
Not at parish level.
No, but no. But
okay.
You do have to vote on the budget first, and then you vote on your precept amount next. So you agree your budget first, and then you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's vote on the budget. For and against. Right, Councillor Mark Clark.
With pleasure, Mr. Chairman. For.
Councillor Rebecca Clark.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Sean Cullen.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Sandra Delamere. Councillor Sandra Delamere, I've lost her.
I think she's lost connection, Chairman.
Oh, okay. Well, come back.
Yeah, she's lost connection, Chairman. She's just dropped from the meeting, I'm afraid.
Okay. Councillor Philip Dowd.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Matthew Kitcher.
With pleasure and thanks to everyone's hard work that's gone into this. For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Alan Fairhead.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Simon Lodge.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Stephanie Osborne.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Melody Roberts.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Alex Wade.
Fantastic audit, now a fantastic budget. Thank you to the officers. For.
Councillor Sandra Delamere.
Yeah, for, Chairman. Yeah, sorry, I lost connection, but I did actually hear all the discussion.
And I vote for, so that is unanimous, in fact. Okay, Now we're going to vote on the precept. Do you want to say what the precept is, Tracy, please?
Sorry, I haven't got the amount in front of me, but it's a 0% increase. Sean, have you got the amount in front of you there?
Yeah, the proposed precept, Chairman, is £830,198.
Oh yeah, has that got the how much per week for Band E property bit in?
Yeah, page 23 of the budget papers would confirm that.
I'm
So
just looking.
The precept is 830,198, 0% rise, and the price rise for a Band E property, of course, is 0.
Okay, all right, members, we're going to vote for the precept. Councillor Mark. Yes, sorry, Alex.
I think we need to propose this separately, don't we?
Oh, good point. Yeah, you're probably right.
I'd like to propose that we accept the precept at a 0% rise as agreed by this council. So I wish to propose this.
Chairman, I will second that.
Okay, right. I'll start on the list again. Councillor Mark Clark.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Rebecca Clark.
For.
Councillor Sean Cullen.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Sandella Mayer.
She's gone again, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Councillor Philip Dowd.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Alan Fairhead.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Matthew Kitcher.
Chairman, I'm indeed for.
Thank you. Councillor Simon Lodge.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Stephanie Osborne.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Melody Roberts.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Alex Wade.
For, Chairman.
And I'm for as well. Councillor Sandella Mayer, we're voting on the precept.
Yes, I was Chairman.
For. Okay. Well, then that is unanimous. And we have delivered a 0 rise budget and still able to deliver the quality services that this council does for the people of Hythe and Dibden. Well done, members, and thank you, officers, and all the rest of the staff for that work. Okay, we now go on to item 16, which is finance. Anybody want to say anything on that? The finance, we've got the paper pages 23 to 28. Actually, we haven't got the COVID one on this, have we?
There was a delay on the cost coming in, Chairman. You'll get 2 months next time.
Okay, that's super fine. Anybody want to make any comments on the financial information? It's for noting, isn't it, Tracy, really, this? No. Any comments, members?
Yeah, mine, Mr. Chairman. Simply the money's for the COVID. That wasn't recorded then. When will it be recorded, Sean? The 11,000 that's coming in?
Okay, I'm hopeful that we will receive it in January. When it's recorded, it will go in the next available report.
So that should be the February report then, if it went well.
If it comes in early January, it will go in the January report, Mark. If not, it will be the February.
All right, thanks, Sean. Much appreciated.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked Alan Bethune at the District Council when he was going to pay it, and he said it was in January, so we will get it. Okay, Alex, you've got an RTS.
Yes, purely. It might just be BP 201106165661 to some, but I can tell you that it's making an extremely amount of people happy with the donation to the Waterside Christmas fire engine. I think that is a fantastic contribution from this council, and I think it's good collaborative working for something that is making some people who remember it fondly happy, and some new faces happy as well, some people who've seen it for the first time. So I thank the officers and the council for working together, and obviously we should all say huge thanks to the volunteers who've brought this amazing tradition out. But I just wanted to mention that in the meeting because I saw that and I thought that's a wonderful thing this council's done.
Thank you. Well, we aren't able to put things on in the village centre and put up Christmas trees and bring Christmas to the centre. So we're taking Christmas to people's homes, which is in a safe and controlled manner through this and the competition. So well done, members. You know, you've all agreed to this and it's fine. And I echo Alex's point about thanking the volunteers who take the fire engine out. Okay, well, that's noted. Now, as we near the penultimate item here is the exclusion of the press and public. To resolve that the press and public be excluded from the meeting for the following business on the grounds that involves a likely disclosure of the exempt information as defined in Part 1 of Schedule 12, Local Government Act 1972. So